The silver ship broke through Earth's clouds, its massive hull reflecting the morning sun. People across the globe watched on screens as humanity's first alien visitors arrived. The ship settled gently in the wide field that had been cleared outside Seoul. For 3 hours, nothing happened. Then, with a soft hiss, a door opened in the side of the ship. Ambassador Ju stepped onto Earth soil, and the waiting crowd gasped. She stood nearly 9 feet tall, her body covered in a shimmering blue-gray skin that looked like polished stone. 2 sets of arms extended from her torso and her eyes. 3 of them were deep purple and unblinking. "So small," she said, her translator device converting her clicks and whistles into Korean and English. She looked down at the human welcoming party with what could only be described as disappointment. President Minju stepped forward, barely reaching the alien's midsection. "On behalf of Earth, we welcome you to our world, Ambassador Ju." Ju's upper arms crossed while her lower ones remained at her sides. "Your leader is even smaller than the others," she said to no one in particular. How strange that such tiny creatures manage to send signals into space. The diplomatic team exchanged uncomfortable glances. This wasn't the friendly first contact they had hoped for. "We may be smaller than your people," President Minju said carefully, "but we are eager to learn and share knowledge." Ju made a sound that her translator didn't catch, but it seemed like laughter. "Yes, I'm sure you have much to learn from the Galactic Confederation. Your quaint technology and small size put you at a disadvantage in our dangerous universe." Standing at the back of the welcoming party, Admiral Hyunwoo watched silently. Unlike the politicians who smiled nervously at each insult, his face remained calm. His eyes never left the alien visitor, noting every movement, every reaction. The formal welcome moved to a large meeting room prepared for the occasion. Ju had to duck to enter the doorway, which seemed to irritate her further. "Your buildings are as tiny as you are," she commented. "How do you not feel trapped?" A young diplomat named Do-yeon answered, "We can adjust the facilities to better accommodate your needs, Ambassador." "That would be wise," Ju said. "The Confederation has much to offer Earth, but only if you prove yourselves worthy partners." As she settled into a specially reinforced chair, Ju's third eye seemed to scan the room independently of the other 2. It stopped when it found Admiral Hyunwoo still watching from near the wall. "And who is this silent one?" she asked. "He stares like a predator, though he is hardly larger than a child of my species." President Minju motioned Hyunwoo forward. "This is Admiral Hyunwoo, head of Earth's United Defense Force." Hyunwoo stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Welcome to Earth." Juwoo's upper arms made a dismissive gesture. "A military leader. How amusing. What could warriors of your size possibly achieve against the threats that lurk between stars?" "We manage," Hyunwoo said simply. Juwoo turned away from him as if he were unworthy of further attention. "Let us discuss what Earth can offer the Confederation and what protection we might provide in return." The meeting lasted hours. Ju spoke mostly to President Minju, ignoring the military and scientific advisors except to occasionally mock their questions. "No, your metals are not particularly special," she said to one scientist. "Though I suppose they're impressive for beings who only recently discovered electricity." When shown Earth's most advanced starship design, she clicked in what seemed to be amusement. "It's almost cute how primitive it is. Like watching a child build with blocks." Admiral Hyunwoo spoke only once during the entire meeting. When Ju mentioned that Earth would need to provide raw materials to the Confederation, he asked, "And what exactly do we receive in return?" Ju's 3 eyes fixed on him. "You receive our presence, human. Our ships will keep you safe from species that would see your planet as nothing but resources to be harvested. Believe me, there are many who would crush your cities without a second thought." "You mean like the Talon Empire?" Hyunwoo asked. Ju's posture changed slightly. "You know of the Talons. We've been listening to space for decades. We've heard things." Ju recovered quickly. "Then you should be even more grateful for our protection. The Talons would see you as nothing but food. As the meeting ended, Ju was shown to her quarters, a hastily modified suite in what had been a basketball arena. The high ceilings gave her room to stand upright. "This will do for now," she said. "Tomorrow we will begin discussing the details of Earth's entry into the Confederation. I suggest you prepare generous offers of your planet's resources." After she left, President Minju gathered her advisors. "That could have gone better," she sighed. "She sees us as children," one diplomat said, "or pets." Admiral Hyunwoo, who had been silent, finally spoke. "She sees us as weak because we're small. It's an advantage." "An advantage?" President Minju asked. "How is being mocked an advantage?" "People reveal more when they think they're superior," Hyunwoo explained. "She mentioned the Talons without caution. And did you notice how she avoided questions about technology sharing?" "You think she's lying about protection?" asked Do-yeon. Hyunwoo shook his head. "I think there's more happening than she's telling us. Request permission to increase space patrols and put our lunar base on alert." "You think we're in danger?" the president asked. "I think being underestimated is only an advantage if we don't actually become the weak species she believes we are." Back in her quarters, Ju contacted her ship. "The humans are even more primitive than our scans showed. Their largest weapons wouldn't dent a Confederation cruiser." The ship's captain responded, "Will they agree to the resource demands?" "They'll have no choice," Ju said. "They're desperate to join the galactic community, and they believe our lies about protection. In 3 months, we'll have mining operations on every continent." "And the Talons?" Juwoo's mouth parts formed what might have been a smile. "If they happen to find this little world after we've taken what we need, that's hardly our concern." She didn't notice the small maintenance duct near the ceiling, nor the recording device Admiral Hyunwoo had placed there hours before her arrival. 2 months had passed since Ambassador Ju arrived on Earth. The novelty of alien contact had faded, replaced by growing unease among world leaders. In every meeting, Ju made new demands while offering little in return. "These mineral quotas are 3 times what we agreed to last week," said President Minju, looking at the latest proposal. The meeting room felt too small with Juwoo's towering presence. Her blue-gray skin caught the light as she gestured dismissively with her upper arms. "The Confederation needs more resources than originally calculated," she said. "This should not be difficult for your mining operations." "But it would mean shutting down civilian production," argued Do-yeon. Once eager and friendly, the young diplomat now looked tired and frustrated. "Our people need these materials too." Juwoo's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. "Your primitive technologies use resources inefficiently. The Confederation will eventually teach you better methods. But first, you must prove your commitment." Admiral Hyunwoo sat quietly at the end of the table. He rarely spoke in these meetings, but he never missed one. His data tablet silently recorded everything. "And what about the defensive technology you promised?" he asked suddenly. Juwoo's middle eye swiveled to fix on him. "The defense systems are complex. Your engineers would not understand them yet." "We're quick learners," Hyunwoo said. "Not quick enough," Juwoo replied. "Now about the increased uranium shipments." Later that evening, Hyunwoo met privately with President Minju in a small garden behind the presidential residence. They walked slowly among flowering cherry trees, their conversation masked by the sound of a nearby fountain. "She has no intention of helping us," Hyunwoo said quietly. President Minju sighed. "I'm beginning to see that. But what choice do we have? We're newcomers to a galaxy filled with advanced civilizations." Hyunwoo pulled out his tablet and showed her a series of images. "These are from our lunar telescope, Talon ships gathering just beyond Mars." "Has Juwoo mentioned this?" "No. And when I asked about increasing our patrol ships near Mars, she insisted it wasn't necessary." The president stopped walking. "What are you suggesting?" "That the Confederation might be using us as bait," Hyunwoo said. "Or worse, they've made a deal with the Talons." "That's a serious accusation. which is why I need your permission for something that might seem unusual. 2 days later, a loud argument broke out during the daily briefing with Juwoo. Minister Hyuno, normally the calmest person in the room, was shouting, "You promised medical technology in exchange for the first mineral shipment. We delivered 3 weeks ago and have seen nothing." Juwoo towered over him, all 3 eyes narrowed. "Your understanding of our agreement was flawed. The medical technologies come after the second phase of resource extraction. That's not what you said." Junho's face had turned red. "Minister," President Minju cautioned, "please remember diplomatic protocol." "Protocol?" Junho laughed bitterly. "While she takes everything and gives nothing." Juwoo's posture became rigid. "Perhaps Earth isn't ready for Confederation membership if this is how your representatives behave. Perhaps we aren't," Admiral Hyunwoo said quietly from his corner. The room fell silent as everyone turned to him. "Admiral," Juwoo said coldly, "you of all people should understand the dangers of isolation. Without our protection, the Talons would find your world very appetizing." "So we've been told," Hyunwoo replied. "Strange that we haven't seen any Confederation protective ships in our system, despite reports of unknown vessels near Mars." For a moment, Juwoo seemed startled. Then she recovered. "Your detection systems are primitive. Our ships maintain stealth protocols." "Of course," Hyunwoo nodded, but his eyes never left hers. After the meeting, Minister Junho approached Hyunwoo in the hallway. "I apologize for losing my temper." Hyunwoo smiled slightly. "No need. You played your part perfectly." Junho lowered his voice. "Did it work?" "Yes. When you mentioned the missing medical technology, her third eye moved to the left, something I'd noticed she does when lying. And she was definitely surprised about our Mars detection." "So what now?" "Now," Hyunwoo said, "we prepare while pretending to be compliant. Over the next few weeks, Earth continued shipping resources to the Confederation. Publicly, leaders expressed gratitude for Juwoo's guidance. Privately, a different plan unfolded. Deep under the Pacific Ocean, engineers worked around the clock on ships designed by Hyunwoo and his team. On the far side of the moon, a base expanded in secret. Small satellites with minimal electronic signatures were quietly positioned throughout the solar system. Juwoo noticed none of this. Her reports to the Confederation continued to describe humans as simple, primitive creatures easily manipulated. "They believe everything I tell them," she told her superiors during a secure transmission. "They're mining their own planet to exhaustion without question." "And the military?" asked a voice from the transmission. "Their so-called admiral is no threat." Juwoo laughed. "He watches and says little. Their weapons are toys compared to ours." "Good. The Talon agreement is proceeding as planned. They will wait until the third mineral shipment, then they get their share. And Earth. Once we have what we need, they can have what remains. Just keep the humans docile for another month." What Juwoo didn't know was that her secure quarters weren't as secure as she believed. Every transmission was intercepted by devices smaller than a fingernail, planted during routine cleaning. Admiral Hyunwoo reviewed the latest intercepted message in a bunker 500 meters beneath Seoul. Around him, officers from 20 nations worked at monitoring stations. "1 month," he said to his second-in-command, Captain Minji. "That's our timeline." Minji nodded, her face serious. "The lunar base is at 70% readiness. The Pacific Fleet needs 2 more weeks." "They'll have to work faster," Hyunwoo said. "What about Project Quiet Thunder?" "Testing phase complete. Production is running day and night." Hyunwoo looked at the large screen showing Talon ship movements. Their numbers had doubled in the past week. "And Ambassador Juwoo?" "Still following her regular schedule. She's requested a tour of our main uranium facility tomorrow." "Good. Make sure she sees exactly what we've prepared for her to see." The next day, Juwoo walked through Earth's largest uranium processing plant, ducking to avoid the low ceilings. She watched as workers loaded containers for the next shipment to the Confederation. "Your efficiency has improved," she noted with satisfaction. "We aim to please," said the facility director, smiling widely. "We've increased production by 40% this month." Juwoo's upper arms made a gesture of approval. "The Confederation values your cooperation. Soon you'll receive the benefits we promised." As her transport left the facility, Juwoo didn't notice that the container she'd inspected contained mostly rock with just enough uranium to register on scanners. The real uranium had been diverted weeks ago to another facility, deep underground. That night, as Juwoo prepared her daily report, emergency alarms suddenly blared throughout the diplomatic compound. She rushed to the window and saw humans running in all directions. Her communication device activated. "Ambassador, we've detected multiple Talon ships entering Earth orbit. They're ahead of schedule." Juwoo froze. This wasn't the plan. The Talons were supposed to wait until after the final shipment. Her door burst open as Admiral Hyunwoo entered with 4 armed guards. Gone was his usual calm expression, replaced by cold determination. "Ambassador," he said, "we need to talk about the Talons. And this time, I'll be asking the questions." The alarms continued blaring throughout the diplomatic compound. Ambassador Juwoo stood surrounded by human guards, her 3 eyes darting between Admiral Hyunwoo and the screens showing Talon ships entering Earth orbit. "This wasn't supposed to happen yet," she said, forgetting herself. "So you admit you knew they were coming?" Hyunwoo said. His voice remained calm despite the chaos around them. Juwoo straightened to her full 9-foot height. "You don't understand galactic politics, tiny human. The Confederation makes necessary arrangements with various powers." "Spare me," Hyunwoo cut her off. "We've been recording your transmissions for weeks. We know about your deal with the Talons to strip our planet after you got what you wanted." For once, Juwoo seemed speechless. All 3 of her eyes blinked rapidly. "Take her to the command center," Hyunwoo ordered his guards. "She should see what happens next." They moved quickly through underground tunnels, emerging into a massive chamber Juwoo had never seen before. Hundreds of humans worked at control stations. Giant screens showed Earth, the approaching Talon fleet, and various defensive positions. "What is this place?" Juwoo asked. "It wasn't in any of our scans. We've had 100 years of science fiction warning us about alien invasions," Hyunwoo said with a small smile. "Did you think we wouldn't prepare?" President Minju approached them, her face grim. "The Talons have ignored all communication attempts. Their weapons are powering up. They're targeting major cities," a technician called out. "Impact in 15 minutes. "Activate Ghost Shield," Hyunwoo ordered. Screens showed a shimmer appearing in the atmosphere above major population centers. Juwoo watched in confusion. "You don't have planetary shield technology," she protested. "That's at least 300 years beyond your capabilities." "According to your assessments, yes," Hyunwoo agreed. "Captain Minji, status of our fleet." A woman at a central console turned. "All ships ready for launch, Admiral." "Lunar Base reports defensive systems online." "Lunar Base," Juwoo repeated. "What lunar base?" No one answered her. On the screens, 50 small ships rose from hidden facilities around the planet. They were unlike the clunky vessels Juwoo had been shown in briefings, sleek, dark, and moving with surprising speed. "Approaching Talon heavy cruisers," reported Captain Minji. "They're targeting our ships." The first energy blasts from the Talon vessels streaked across space. To Juwoo's shock, the human ships didn't try to avoid them. They flew straight through the attacks without damage. "Impossible," she whispered. "Phase shift technology," Hyunwoo explained. "We've been studying quantum physics for decades. Your scans only saw what we wanted you to see." The human vessels split into groups, surrounding the larger Talon ships. They fired weapons that seemed to bypass the Talon shields entirely, causing explosions on their hulls. "Their shields are down 40%, announced a technician. "They're trying to regroup." "Lunar Base, commence Operation Skyfall," Hyunwoo commanded. From the far side of the moon, previously hidden artillery positions revealed themselves. Massive energy beams shot toward the Talon fleet, catching them in a crossfire. You hid an entire military base from Confederation scans. Ju couldn't hide her disbelief. We built it inside natural caverns, President Minju explained, with materials that absorb sensor scans, something we learned from studying your ship when you weren't looking. On the screens, several Talon vessels were already retreating. Others continued fighting, their superior size still making them dangerous. A human ship exploded in a flash of light. Jinhee is hit, Captain Minji reported, her voice tight. Crew ejecting. Hyunwoo's jaw clenched, but he remained focused. Deploy the Whispers. Small, drone-like objects launched from the human fleet, moving so fast they appeared as blurs on the screens. They attached themselves to the Talon ships and began drilling through their hulls. The Talons are hailing us, a communications officer announced. Put them through, Hanwoo ordered. A reptilian face appeared on the main screen, eyes burning with rage. Humans, you tricked us. You were planning to attack our world. President Minju responded. We defended ourselves. The Confederation promised us. The Talon commander stopped, noticing Ju in the background. You said these creatures were defenseless. All eyes in the command center turned to Ju. The agreement was for later, she said to the Talon. You acted prematurely. Enough, Hanwoo interrupted. Talon commander, you have two choices. Retreat immediately and never return to Earth space, or we activate the devices now attached to your ship's engine cores. The Talon hissed. You're bluffing. No primitive species could breach our engine shielding. Hyunwoo nodded to Captain Minji. One of the Talon's smaller ships suddenly exploded from within, breaking apart in space. That was 1/10 of the explosive power, Hyunwoo said calmly. The rest of your fleet has 30 seconds to begin withdrawal. The Talon commander snarled but gave orders in his own language. The remaining ships turned and began accelerating away from Earth. Track them beyond Neptune, Hanwoo ordered. Make sure they leave our system entirely. As the immediate danger passed, the tension in the command center eased slightly. Rescue ships were already recovering the crew of the destroyed vessel. Ju stared at Admiral Hyunwoo with all three eyes. How? Your people are so small, so young. Size isn't everything, Ambassador, he replied. And being underestimated has its advantages. President Minju stepped forward. Now about the Confederation's intentions for Earth. Juwoo's posture changed. For the first time, she seemed uncertain. The Confederation's council doesn't know the full details of my arrangement with the Talons. It was a private initiative. So you betrayed both sides, Hyunwoo noted. I saw an opportunity for personal gain, Juwoo admitted. The Talons offered rare minerals from their conquered worlds in exchange for access to Earth. And now, President Minju asked. Before Juwoo could answer, alarms sounded again. Admiral, Captain Minji called. Long-range sensors show a new fleet entering the system. Confederation signatures. They must have detected the battle, Juwoo said. This changes everything. How so? Hanwoo asked, his hand resting on his weapon. The Confederation truly does offer protection to member worlds, but She hesitated. I was skimming resources, making side deals. If they learn what I've done, I'll be executed. Then you need our help as much as we needed yours, President Minju observed. Hyunwoo studied the screen showing the approaching Confederation fleet. We need to know what we're facing. Is this a rescue mission or another threat? I don't know, Juwoo admitted, but I should be there when you make contact. Agreed, Hyunwoo said. You're coming with us, Ambassador. We're taking our command ship to meet them. But they'll see your true capabilities, Juwoo protested. They already have, Hyunwoo pointed out. There's no hiding what happened here today. As they prepared to board the ship, Juwoo looked down at Admiral Hyunwoo with new eyes. I never imagined tiny creatures could fight like this. That's the thing about humans, Hyunwoo said as they walked toward the launch pad. We've been fighting each other and surviving against the odds for our entire history. We hoped for peaceful contact with alien life, but we planned for the alternative. The command ship rose from its underground hangar, sleek and powerful, nothing like the primitive designs Ju had been shown months earlier. As Earth shrank below them and the stars came into view, she realized how completely she had misjudged these small but dangerous beings. The Earth command ship accelerated toward the approaching Confederation fleet. Through the main viewport, Ju counted 7 massive vessels, each one dwarfing the human ship. Their gleaming surfaces reflected the distant sun, making them look like stars themselves. "Those are Confederation warships," Ju said, her voice quieter than usual. "Not diplomatic vessels." Admiral Hyunwoo stood beside her on the bridge, his calm expression unchanged. "Are they here because of you or because of the Talons?" "I don't know," she admitted. "But Chairman Garun commands that lead ship. He doesn't leave the Confederation capital unless something serious has happened." President Minju, who had insisted on joining them, looked concerned. "Will they attack without warning?" "Not their style," Ju said. "They'll demand explanations first." As if on cue, the communication system activated. A deep voice spoke in the Confederation language. Ju translated for the humans. "They're ordering us to stop and prepare for boarding." "Tell them we'll comply," Hyunwoo said, "but that we request a meeting instead." Ju hesitated, then sent the message. The reply came quickly. "They refuse. They say my presence on your ship indicates a hostage situation." "They think we've captured you?" President Minju asked. "After the Talon battle, they probably think you're more dangerous than I reported," Ju explained. Hyunwoo considered this. "Can you tell them you're here voluntarily?" Before Ju could answer, a warning flashed on the main screen. The lead Confederation ship had powered up its tractor beam. "They're going to pull us in," Captain Minji reported. "Our engines can't break free from that." "We need to show good faith," Hyunwoo decided. "Ju, tell them we're coming aboard willingly. President Minju and I will accompany you." "That's too dangerous," Captain Minji protested. "If we resist, they'll assume the worst," Hyunwoo said. "Sometimes the best defense is trust." 20 minutes later, a small shuttle carried Hyunwoo, President Minju, and Ju toward the massive Confederation flagship. No one spoke during the journey. When they docked, armed guards met them. Towering aliens of various species, all carrying weapons larger than Hyunwoo himself. The guards escorted them through corridors that made even Ju look small. Finally, they entered a vast chamber where a single figure waited. Chairman Garun stood nearly 12 feet tall, his gray skin wrinkled with age, 6 eyes arranged in a circle on his face. "Ambassador Ju," his voice rumbled like distant thunder. "Your reports about this planet have been inconsistent with our observations." Ju lowered her head. "Chairman, I can explain." "You will be silent," Garun interrupted. "We witnessed the battle with the Talons. How did primitive humans defeat a Talon battle group?" Hyunwoo stepped forward. "We're not as primitive as Ju reported." All 6 of Garun's eyes focused on him. "So it seems. And why would our ambassador deliberately mislead the Confederation about a new species?" Before Ju could speak, President Minju answered. "She was making private arrangements with the Talons. We have recordings of her communications." Garun's eyes narrowed. "Is this true, Ju?" "Chairman, Ju began, then stopped. "Yes, it's true." "Treason," Garun said simply. "The penalty is death." Guards moved toward Ju. Surprisingly, Hyunwoo stepped between them. "Wait," he said, looking up at the massive chairman. "Before you judge her, you should know the full story." "Why would you defend someone who betrayed your planet?" Garun asked. "Because understanding is better than vengeance," Hyunwoo replied. "And because we want peaceful relations with the Confederation, not more conflict." Something in his steady gaze made Garun pause. "Speak then, small human." For the next hour, Hyunwoo explained everything. how they had discovered Juwoo's deception, their preparations, and the battle with the Talons. He presented evidence of Juwoo's deals, but also explained her admission of guilt. When he finished, Garun was silent for a long moment. "Impressive," he finally said. "Most species would demand her execution after such betrayal." "We don't want execution," President Minju said. "We want fair treatment as equals in the galactic community." Garun studied them. "You defeated a Talon battle group with ships we couldn't even detect. You hide bases on your moon that our best scanners missed. Yet you speak of peace. Strength and peace aren't opposites," Hyunwoo said. "We built defenses because we had to. But our primary goal has always been peaceful cooperation." An alarm suddenly blared throughout the ship. One of Garun's officers rushed in. "Chairman, the Talons have returned with reinforcements. They're attacking the human planet." Everyone rushed to a large display showing Earth. A dozen Talon ships had appeared from hyperspace and were firing on the planet's defenses. "Our people," President Minju whispered. "We need to return to our ship," Hyunwoo said urgently. "Your tiny vessel against that fleet?" Garun asked. "It would be suicide. We defeated them once," Hyunwoo insisted. "Not this many," Juwoo pointed out. "This is a full battle group." Garun made a decision. "We will assist. Prepare battle stations." As the massive Confederation ship turned toward Earth, new alarms sounded. "Engine sabotage detected," an officer reported. "We're losing power." "The Talons must have planted devices during our last encounter with them," Garun growled. "All ships are affected." Hyunwoo turned to Juwoo. "Your technology is different from ours. Could human engineers help?" "The engine systems are highly advanced," Juwoo said. "It would take your people weeks just to understand them." "Let us try," Hyunwoo insisted. Reluctantly, Garun agreed. Hyunwoo contacted his ship and requested a team of engineers. Within minutes they arrived and were escorted to the engine room. The Confederation engineers towered over the humans, watching skeptically as they examined the complex system. "What is he doing?" Juwoo asked, watching Hyunwoo remove his uniform jacket and climb into a narrow access tube, a space the Confederation engineers were too large to enter. "He's going to the core," one of the human engineers explained. "The sabotage device must be there." "But the radiation levels," Juwoo began. "He knows," the engineer replied simply. On the command deck, they watched through camera feeds as Hyunwoo navigated the dangerous passage. The radiation alarms flashed warnings, but he continued forward. Finally, he reached a small device attached to the engine core. "He found it," Juwoo said, impressed despite herself. But removing it wouldn't be simple. The device had integrated itself with the ship's systems. If he disconnects it wrong, it could explode, a Confederation engineer warned. They watched as Hyunwoo studied the device, then began carefully disconnecting it one component at a time. His hands moved with surprising precision for their small size. Sweat covered his face as the radiation affected him. But he didn't stop. "His cell structure must be breaking down," Juwoo said quietly. "How is he still functioning?" "That's what humans do," President Minju replied. "We endure." After 10 agonizing minutes, Hyunwoo removed the last connection. The engine immediately surged back to full power. He made his way back through the tube, clutching the disable device. When he emerged, he collapsed. Medical teams rushed him to the infirmary. "Will he survive?" Juwoo asked as they treated him for radiation exposure. "Unknown," the Confederation doctor admitted. "His biology is different from anything we've treated before." As they prepared for battle with the Talons, Juwoo stood beside Hyunwoo's medical pod. She placed one of her 4 hands on the transparent surface. "I was wrong about you," she said softly. "So small, yet so much stronger than I ever imagined." The Confederation flagship accelerated toward Earth, its engines now restored to full power. 6 other ships followed behind it, their weapons ready for battle. In the medical bay, Juwoo remained beside Hyunwoo's pod, while doctors worked to save him from radiation poisoning. "You should return to the command deck," President Minju told her. "They need your knowledge of Talon tactics." Juwu looked down at Hyunwoo's still form. He saved everyone on this ship. Why would he risk himself like that? "That's just who he is," Minju replied simply. When they reached the command deck, the battle was already underway. Earth's defenses were holding, but barely. The lunar base had taken heavy damage, and several human ships had been destroyed. "We'll attack from behind the Talon formation," Chairman Garun was saying. "They won't expect us to have recovered so quickly." "The Talons have changed their shield configuration," Juwu pointed out, studying the tactical display. "Your standard weapons won't penetrate them." "Then what do you suggest?" Garun asked, his tone less hostile than before. "The humans have phase shift technology. It bypasses Talon shields completely." Garun turned to President Minju. "Would you share this technology with us? For this battle only?" President Minju nodded. "Captain Minji can transmit the specifications immediately." Within minutes, Confederation engineers adapted the human technology to their own weapon systems. As they approached the battle, Garun addressed his fleet. "Target the Talon command ships first. Fire on my mark." The Confederation vessels opened fire simultaneously. Their massive weapons, now enhanced with human technology, cut through the Talon shields as if they weren't there. 3 enemy ships exploded immediately. The remaining Talons turned to face this new threat, giving Earth's defenders a chance to regroup. The battle became intense, with ships maneuvering through debris and weapons fire crisscrossing the void of space. "They're targeting our flagship," a sensor officer called out. A massive energy beam from the Talon lead ship struck them directly. The entire vessel shuddered, but its shields held. "Return fire," Garun ordered calmly. The flagship's main cannon fired, splitting the Talon vessel in half. The remaining enemy ships began to retreat, jumping to hyperspace one by one until the space around Earth was quiet again. "We did it," President Minju said, relief evident in her voice. "Together," Garun acknowledged. "Your people fought with remarkable skill for their size and technological level." Juwu had already left the command deck, hurrying back to the medical bay. When she arrived, the doctors were still working frantically around Hyunwoo's pod. "His cellular structure is failing," one doctor explained. "The radiation damaged his DNA beyond our ability to repair." "There must be something you can do," Juwu insisted. "Our medical technology is designed for Confederation species," the doctor said. "Human biology is different." A small voice came from the doorway. "Then let us try." Dr. Yunju, Earth's chief medical officer, stood there with a team of human doctors. Though they barely reached the waist of the Confederation medical staff, their expressions showed determination. "We've been studying radiation treatments for centuries," Dr. Yunju explained. "May we?" The Confederation doctors stepped aside, watching skeptically as the humans connected their own equipment to Hyunwoo's pod. Dr. Yunju injected a glowing blue substance directly into his bloodstream. "Nanobots," she explained. "They'll repair his DNA strand by strand." Hours passed. On the command deck, Garun and President Minju negotiated a new agreement between Earth and the Confederation, one of equals rather than protector and protected. Juwu remained in the medical bay, watching the small humans work tirelessly to save their admiral. "You care about him," Dr. Yunju observed during a brief break. "He showed courage I didn't think possible in someone so small," Juwu admitted. Dr. Yunju smiled. "Size has never determined our worth. It's what we do that matters." Another hour passed before Hyunwoo's vital signs began to improve. The nanobots had repaired enough damage for his body to begin healing itself. When his eyes finally opened, Juwu was the first person he saw. "Did we win?" he asked weakly. "Yes," Juwu told him. "The Talons are gone. And Earth. Safe. Your president is negotiating a fair alliance with the Confederation." Hyunwoo tried to sit up but was still too weak. "And you? What will happen to you?" Juwoo's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. Normally, I would be executed for treason. But Chairman Garun has been influenced by your president's argument for mercy. Good, Hanwoo said. No more deaths. 1 week later, a formal ceremony took place in Seoul. Representatives from Earth and the Confederation gathered to sign the new alliance treaty. Hanwoo, still recovering but now able to walk, stood with President Minju as she and Chairman Garun signed the document. The Confederation recognizes Earth as a full and equal member, Garun announced. Your technology, courage, and unique perspective will be valuable additions to our community of worlds. Afterwards, at the reception, Juwoo approached Hanwoo. She no longer towered over him with arrogance, but bent slightly to meet his eyes. I've been assigned as permanent liaison between Earth and the Confederation, she told him. A chance to make amends for my actions. I'm glad, Hanwoo said. You understand both sides now. I understood nothing before, Juwoo admitted. I saw your size and assumed weakness. I never looked deeper. A common mistake, Hanwoo said with a small smile. Our history is full of larger enemies underestimating us. Chairman Garun joined them, his massive form causing nearby humans to step back. Admiral Hanwoo, he said, the Confederation Defense Council has a request. We would like you to train our tactical officers in human battle strategies. Your approach is unique. I would be honored, Hanwoo replied. As the reception continued, Juwoo walked with Hanwoo to a balcony overlooking the city. The lights of Seoul spread out before them, a testament to human resilience and ingenuity. What will you tell the Confederation about humans? Hanwoo asked. Juwoo considered the question carefully. That size is the least important measure of a species, that your small bodies contain tremendous courage and creativity, that you are the most dangerous allies and the most valuable friends in the galaxy. And what about you, Juwoo? What have you learned? She looked down at him, all 3 of her eyes focused on his face. That I was blind before. I saw only with my eyes, not with understanding. The greatest strength often comes in the smallest packages. In the sky above them, Confederation ships and human vessels flew together in formation, a symbol of their new alliance. Juwoo watched Hanwoo as he observed the display, seeing not a tiny, fragile creature, but a being of immense inner strength. Your people have a saying, she said. Don't judge a book by its cover. I finally understand what it means. We have another saying too, Hanwoo told her. The best things come in small packages. For the first time since coming to Earth, Juwoo laughed without mockery. Indeed they do, Admiral. Indeed they do.